Hey, this is News Rocky coming to you live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. from 80 Broadway, downtown Norwich at the Pie Hop Studio. News Rocky. Hey, guys, I just got out of rehab, political rehab, taking on fake news, and we know there's plenty of that out there. So tune in each and every day, get your full complement of all the fake news. We'll drill down on it harder than a pile driver on the WWE wrestling. Hey guys, this is Kevin, the host of News Rocky, and welcome back. This is our Monday through Friday show, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. coming to you live from 80 Broadway in downtown Norwich, Connecticut, that is, right above Pie Hops in the Pie Hop studio. Definitely happy to be here. It is, this is the Monday, the 21st of December, just before the Christmas holiday upon us. We got a lot of news going on, as always, in this country, in this world. We can pick something out of the hat to talk about, and we definitely will do that today. You know, today we're going to talk a little bit later on about the effects of mental health and what the effects of this whole COVID situation, the political effects on mental health, and sort of drill down into what's going on with regards to that and the people of this country. There's actually some people that are claiming that COVID itself has caused more people to go back to using drugs or mental health issues. Suicides are up, alcoholism's up. So we'll drill down into that and see the effects on that. Conspiracy lawyer Sidney Powell. And, you know, I'm kind of, you know, it's funny, right? They call her the conspiracy lawyer just because she represents Donald Trump. She is now tagged as the conspiracy lawyer. This is one of the more reputable jurists in the country, sophisticated, honestly, dedicated to her craft of law. And here she gets a title of conspiracy theory lawyer. Spotted at the White House. Oh my, isn't that just crazy? Trump talk of martial law could taken by the far right into a violent action. And this comes from a former DHS official. We'll get into that later on the show too. Interesting how this official former, you know, it's always the formers, right? When they're working for the guy, they don't really come out and, you know, have too much pushback. As soon as they get canned, as soon as they move on, they got a lot to say. We'll get into that on another show too, because even the book that was written about the president's wife, the first lady, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, a lot of fake news. And you just wonder how much of that was set up by the author of that book. And we'll get in that down the road. Again, staying on track here, the Americans need to wake up and realize China wants to dominate the world. We talked about this the last couple of weeks that China put out. 2035, they're going to take dominant control of the world. And we're going to get into that. And we're going to see what the former ambassador to the UN had to say about that. Obviously, there's a lot to be said about the threat of China, and certainly there's enough conspiracy theory out there, and I believe fact, that China is responsible for the China flu that came here from their hands to this country and around the world, and I truly believe to destroy the economic situation here in this country and abroad. Barr says he has no plan to appoint any special, election process overturning. He has also no plan to go after Biden in any special counsel at this point. This is the outgoing AG, Barr, saying this today. I find this to be a really curious move, and we'll really delve into that later on the show as well, just to kind of figure out exactly what is it that, you know, Attorney General Barr, the outgoing Attorney General here, wants to do. Is it really purposes of following the law, or is it purposes of maybe setting up Donald Trump for the next move in this controversial election still pending? Donald Trump and his supporters across this country are not giving up the fight. I don't know about you. If you're out there and you're a Trump supporter, I'd like to hear, please post something up here on the feed. Let us hear what your thoughts are on this. Do you believe Donald Trump should continue to fight with his election team to try to overturn this election? Or do you think it's time for the president to realize the process, the Washington insiders, possibly the corrupt corporate media, possibly maybe the entire organized government across the country, including Republicans and Democrats, have put enough of a wall up against Donald Trump and his success to overturn this election? Love to hear your thoughts on that. And those of you out there who happen to be Biden fans and supporters and just so happy, tell me why you're so happy about Biden. You got to start sending me in some info. And guys, this is a really curious time to me, because I know a lot of folks out there during this election cycle that said, well, I don't really like Biden, but I'm voting for him. I'm going to vote for him because he's the better of the choices. I love that theory, guys. You know what that theory speaks to? It speaks to no confidence. It speaks to someone who lacks the ability to actually take and divulge their own information from their own research, their own knowledge. Kind of leads to me to believe that a lot of you fall for fake news, the narrative of fake news each and every day we talk about here on the News Rocky Show. You know why you fall for fake news? Because you're partisan. Because you're rooted in one angle, man. You know how many Democrats came out and voted for Trump? Way more than you know because the media won't tell you. How many Black Americans came out and voted for Trump? 14% of the Black vote. Highest in ever in the history of a Republican candidate. But you won't hear that. You know why? The corporate media won't allow it. Each and every day we hear this information. It comes to us. It comes through our technology. It comes through the newspapers. It comes through our radios and our vehicles, our smart apps on our phone. And you know what it's telling us? It's telling us a narrative of one side or the other. What do you really want? Do you want the truth? Well, this is why you're tuning in to News Rocky, because hopefully we delve down on the truth each and every day, try to drive right down on it and try to figure it out. Guys, here's a little truth for you. You want to know what's coming to you? If you're out there and you've been collecting the check from the federal government, the COVID package now is done. All the king's men and the queens got together in Washington, D.C., the greatest theater on earth. They got into the room, right? They made it dramatic. In fact, right here, I do want to, we're going to get into another thing, but Chris Murphy and Dick Blumenthal from Connecticut, two of my favorite guys, you know, they're so vocal how, this president and the Republicans are pushing back. And they, the fact of the matter is during this entire COVID, the negotiations, this package that's been out there, Republicans have been at the table and the Democrats walked away several times. You know why? Because they have wanted to control this conversation coming into the election and out of the election. And now it's Christmas and the Grinch who stole Christmas, Chris Murphy and Dick Blumenthal. Well, guess what? The package is coming out and you lucky folks are going to get what? $600, I think. I think that's the check you're getting. $600 will be your check. And the federal government putting this package together agreed for a roughly $2.4 trillion spending package. A $2.4 trillion includes $900 billion in coronavirus relief after a half of the statement and securing another. Let's see. This COVID is the second installment. So this is going to be an interesting one, guys. Going into January, going into the new session, going into the newly elected president. Where does it play forward? Do we have a third stimulus package? Do we have a fourth stimulus package? We're going to have to see. The fact of the matter is this group of Republicans and Democratic insiders played this one right to the fourth quarter here. I believe they right to the 1 yard mark and right for the touchdown. They were able to get in right before Christmas. It's almost like some kind of movie out of Hollywood. You know why? Because that's exactly what it is. Hollywood, guys. This entire scam on every one of us is Hollywood. It is a play and a bunch of actors who get elected and, by the way, become multi-millionaires on our dime. Our confidence and our money funds this kind of program in Washington, D.C. This big negotiation that took place, we into the hours had these folks out there. Now, the COVID side of this is interesting. A lot of this relief funding is going to go towards encouraging the vax shots going across the country. Have you guys been paying attention? Have you seen the photos, the photo ops of all these elected officials? Let's start right off with the most embarrassing one. I'm going to tell you, Mike Pence, I did meet you in a bathroom, and I personally like your politics. Not everything about you, but I like you. I met you in the bathroom at the Coast Guard. This is a true story. We didn't look eye to eye. We walked by each other like two ships in the wind. But you know what? I do want to say this. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong for taking a shot on TV to try to promote a vax. Because you know what? This isn't what it's supposed to be about. Let the American people decide this. My opinion is this is so played for theater. You have the vice president taking a shot. Then you get, if we can pull up these, this would be really great. Chris Murphy and Dick Blumenthal with their little bony, skinny arms getting a shot in their arms. I have never seen a more pathetic physique on any human being in my life. You got to look at Dick. Dick looks like a skeleton. It's amazing. I mean, this guy has been in a suit his entire life. He has no muscle tone. It looks like he's been, in a concentration camp somewhere. There these two clowns are. Look at Dick. I called him Twiggy, and the other one Baby Arms. Chris Baby Arms Murphy and Dick Twiggy Blumenthal getting the shot in the arm. How gross are you? You know what? Why are you even taking the shot? In my opinion, all you guys are wrong because the people on the front line, the nurses, the doctors, the paramedics, the people in the fire departments, the police officers, those frontline people, they deserve the shot every day before you. Let them have the choice before you take it. But you know what? This is how politics plays. We got this photo op going. Actually, Nancy Pelosi, too, sitting in her chair in her office, getting a shot in her arm. Pretty interesting stuff. The chair just happens to be positioned just so nicely in the office. Then you have this doctor really done up really nice, looks good. He's got the shot ready. Now some are speculating that the cap was on the shot when they were actually doing this photo op. She probably got the shot long before. And, you see her here. There's some people out there claiming that there might be a cap on that needle, and that's actually just a staged front for Nancy Pelosi to promote this vax going across the country. And guys, what are you going to do? Are you going to take the shot? Are you going to be the guy who or the lady who goes out there? Are you going to make sure your children take the shot? I'm interested in understanding what this means. We did have some folks last week commenting about this. Certainly a lot of controversy and a lot of fake news, quite honestly. We went out and covered an event that was in protest of the COVID response with Lori Hopkins Cavanaugh about 2 Saturdays ago. We had a lot of coverage there, did a lot of live interviews from the field, and it was interesting to hear the people's perspective. Quite honestly, I kind of understood some of the perspective. Big government pushing their opinions around. Big government forcing the people to do things that they don't want to do. Big government trying to tell us that it's time for us we gotta get in line. And if we don't get in line, we can't move forward, and we're gonna get fines. For example, here in Connecticut, guys, and I know we have listeners throughout the country. We have listeners throughout the country who are, listening in every day. But here in Connecticut, some of the strongest penalties here, you have a $10,000 fine. If you have a restaurant open after 10 p.m. under the governor's, now, by the way, this is King Lamont. Governor Lamont has full control. He is exercising his executive power. And if you get found in a restaurant, you're going to get a $10,000 fine. The restaurant does. This is already after 600 restaurants closed down in Connecticut alone this year and growing. This is the kind of mentality our government is bringing to the table. This kind of all ties in, guys. Why do you think mental health is a big deal? Why do you think the effects of what Governor Lamont's doing and the president of the United States is doing and the people down in Washington, D.C. with playing this COVID package right to the 11th hour? We're just the pawns, guys. We play the game each and every day. Every day, what we do is we step up and we give an opinion and we think we're right. But actually, guess what? All the information we're getting, unless you're willing to drill down into it and really research it, what are you actually going to be? You're going to be headlines? Guess what you can do? You can put a headline out any day of the week you want. You can have it say whatever you want, and it will certainly say and help you with a narrative of your objective, whatever that is. Mental health is one thing I want to drill into. I think the mental health issues in this country have been ignored for many years. I've watched this as I was involved as a Department of Corrections employee here in the state of Connecticut for 20 plus years. I watched them close down mental health facilities and then retransplant these individuals who suffer from some severe mental health issues into correctional facilities, back into the mainstream society. That definitely doesn't help crime. It definitely doesn't help the community. It definitely doesn't help the human. So mental health is something that I think during COVID has been a little bit talked about, but mostly ignored. And I'm wondering what you guys have for an opinion out there. You think mental health is really going to be a bigger issue going forward, coming out of COVID? How many people are going to suffer from addiction issues that either were going into COVID exasperated and or rebirthed through this COVID situation? Someone who might have been in a fight against it now through the lockdown and the depression by the government. Now all of a sudden they turn to these things as the next solution. I think mental health is a big deal. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I see we are the servant class to Washington elite. Well, you're right. In a lot of ways we are. But you know what? I'm going to say to that contributor right there. Let me be honest with you. That is our choice. Okay, Gary, if you want to flip this around and you want to try to be, the guy who wants to take the lead, and I know you can, you got the capability to do that. Why don't you step out in front of it? Why don't we get a caravan going down to Washington, D.C.? Why don't we organize our own Million Man March or excuse me, people. I'm not a sexist. I apologize if I offended anybody. Why don't we get our 1 million person march and go down there to Washington, D.C. and protest not just Democrats? Why don't we protest some Republicans too? Guys, you see what Mitt Romney's doing these days? Mitt Romney's saying, this is not the Republican Party I remember. No kidding, Mitt. You don't even know what you're talking about. You lost a failure. You had a chance to beat Obama, and when you opened your mouth, you lost the battle. You know why? Now, all of a sudden, you seem more like a Democrat liberal. Instead, I don't care about you being a Democrat liberal. Don't play both sides. That's what people don't want to see. We don't want to hear. So you tell me exactly, Mitt Romney, what's really different about this party? I'll tell you what's different, Mitt. You're not really a leader anymore. Neither is George Bush Jr., Jeb Bush, all the clowns who are out in front of Washington, D.C. insider politics. You're getting called out each and every day. You guys do know Mitt Romney's father. Mitt Romney grew up in Washington, D.C. He served in many administrations in this country. He was a product of development through the time that he was almost like Born Identity. He's the Born Identity of politics. You know what? That's brilliant. I think we need to tag that Mitt Romney is the Born Identity. He was trained to be a politician. Unfortunately, he's a loser, and he never got elected to president. That's a fact, okay? Believe me, at the end of the day, I'll take his checkbook. He's got a lot more zeros than I do. I'm not saying he's a loser there. But as far as the political conversation, it's kind of embarrassing. It's actually kind of sad that you hear somebody like Mitt Romney coming out and saying that, hey, you know what, this is not the party I remember. Well, why not? Mitt, why is it not the party you remember? What's wrong with it? You tell me what the difference is. Because you're not a leader, because you're not making decisions, because you're not calling the shots, and because quite honestly, the party has a rebirth of energy. And you know what this energy is? It's not about separation. It's not about division. It's not about the frustration in this country. It's about a little bit of all that, but most importantly, it's about we are finally, as American people, waking up to the corruption of Washington, D.C. You know, when I was brought up, guys, I'm sure like you, we looked at our elected officials like they were holier than God. You go around to any political, look at Nancy Pelosi herself. She's had events over this past election year where people were heckling her. The same supporters that put her in office year after year. These same politicians across the board, Democrats and Republicans, they're finally being seen for who they are. Can you guys tell me one politician? I want you to pop it up there. If anyone pops up, I want to start hearing some names that you trust. Who's a politician you trust? I want to know if is it going to be Donald Trump? Is that who you trust? Is it going to be who? I want to know who you trust, the politician. You're listening to the News Rocky Show today. This is Kevin, your host, the former politician. I went behind the curtain. I saw behind the curtain, and I got a taste of what happens at state government here in Connecticut, and it forced me to realize it's time for me to tell the stories. It's time for me to point out exactly what's going on. It's time for me to drill down into the fakeness of politics and the news and the cooperation between both. Think about it, guys. Everything we have in our country today, everything that we have for news is coming to you from a media-driven perspective. In some cases, if you watch those corporate news channels, all of them, folks, I don't care if it's Fox News or CNN, the two bookends, you can have both. You know what? There's no doubt in my mind that you think about it like this. Those news organizations, you know what they do? They drill their narrative each and every day, and it inspires either someone on the fence or someone on this side or opposite sides or same side to have that argument. How many times do we go into a discussion thinking we learned the truth on Fox News or we learned the truth on CNN, and we get into that debate and then we read a little further and we're like, oh, I made a mistake there, didn't I? So Ron DeSantis of Florida being called in here as a really good political leader. Interesting, Donald, that you feel that way. I believe you are in Florida, so we appreciate you calling that in. Anyone else out there? Give me some political people, and let's do this. We'll spread it out a little bit, guys. It could be past or present people that are serving in office who you think is really the real deal. I'm going to tell you who I think it is, and I'm going to tell you that this guy that I love is the guy that I think is going to be Dan Crenshaw. We're going to get that in a minute on that because I want to get into a caller here on the phone. I believe we have John.
No, this is Gordon Vidal.
Oh, Gordon. I'm sorry. You know what, Gordon? I apologize for the mix-up there. I shouldn't have made that mistake with the famed attorney, folks. This is famous the most famous attorney in New London County, Gordon Vidal. Well, actually, he's the most famous attorney in the 6th District of New London. We'll narrow it down. Gordon Vidal, who is on the phone with us. Gordon, how are you today?
I'm good, but I do have to correct you. I'm not even the most famous attorney in my house.
All right. You're right, because that would upset you. Who is that actually in your house that's the most famous attorney?
That would be Christine Sonoda, my partner, and really just honestly, if you're going to litigation, that's who you want.
That's the one right there, hon. So if anyone's looking for an attorney, do not waste your time on Gordon. Call directly to his wife and get a good attorney. Is that what we're hearing? Is that fake news or real news?
She takes care of litigation. I do the transactional and negotiation.
That's awesome. All right, so that's real news right there. Perfect. So Gordon, I'm excited to have you on the show with us today, and we're going to get you in the studio at some point, hopefully. But you're a guy that's out there. You and the wife actually have your own talk show. You get into it. You're vocal. You're actually, would you call yourself an agitator in the city of New London?
I have been in the past, but only to fight for the truth and transparency so that, we can make good decisions. New London as a whole has been operating on its heels because of desperation and because we're always in a financial dire straits. So there's never a real plan. And, Fort Trumbull, after 20 years, is sitting there undeveloped. And I couldn't come up with a better example. They had all the financial backing in the world, and it still sits there vacant, and the lost revenue from taxes there is tens, if not hundreds of millions over the last 20 years.
So you're involved in the local stuff. You stay in tune with the state stuff. What do you think of the governor's powers here in the state of Connecticut, his executive powers? We talked a little earlier. Some of these rules, these regulations he's been governing as his executive powers have given him, 600 plus restaurants closed. What do you think about him taking and exerting those rights of his position?
All right. So I'm not a big fan. And I think that this is tantamount to abuse of power, but that's because we as a state are so, I don't want to say stupid, I don't want to say brainwashed, but conditioned to vote Democrat, and he's using the powers he has.
Are you a Democrat or Republican?
I'm unaffiliated.
Oh, so you're a man amongst your own island here, and you're not seeing in line with what the governor's position has been on the COVID response. Do you think the COVID response here in Connecticut, is there anything you can say was done well, and anything highlights it was done incorrectly?
Well, honestly, at the very beginning, first of all, I follow more of a world stage than the local stage.
Okay.
So on our show, we talked about the virus coming. We talked about precautions you needed to do, what you needed to do for prepare. And so I've been following it for some time, long before it actually landed here. And, it was really disconcerting at the very beginning of this to have like this unholy union of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut jumped in, and Massachusetts jumped in, and they're actually operating together. Mm-hmm. It didn't start that way, but they kind of signed off and hired this firm to, an out-of-state firm, by the way,
right?
With ties to politicians to manage their response, and we fell right into the same trap, which was, it caused death. Let's not mince words.
What do you think about you got in I want to go into this direction with you, Gordon, because you are in that area. You have a great bit of information on the national and international front of these issues. Let me ask you, with regards just in Connecticut, we'll move on from here after this question. This governor's wife is affiliated as she's a very successful businesswoman and entrepreneur. And there's a lot of, reason for people out there to think that she might be affiliated with a company with regards to the vaccination. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're going to want to go back. First of all, if we get into, I don't want to get too deep, and I don't want people to start saying conspiracy guy. But the truth is, everything I'm going to say is documented. I can prove everything. It's, you can choose not to accept the facts and just go with what's jammed down your throat, or you can actually get off your butt and do a little research yourself. And all we try to do is bring you to a point where you say, wait a second, let me consider that and really do my own research.
So let me ask you.
So-
So can I ask you then? Because you set the table. I want to get on it right now with you, Gordon. I'm going to ask you some conspiracy theories and just say yes, no, true, false, in your opinion. You want to dive into it a little bit? We can. Pizzagate.
It's a lot more true than people want to talk about. And, again, there's another good example. We've been screaming about, or I have. My wife only kind of bought in after we kind of dragged her kicking and screaming a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And now she fully is on board because she did her research. Years and years ago, I've been talking about Jeffrey Epstein and his ties to certain people and how he was actually a Mossad operative and how he was essentially their
Wait. What do you mean by
blackmail
Mossad operative? What do you just so the listeners can understand what you're saying?
Sure. So we have the CIA and Israel has Mossad, which is a military intelligence branch. And what happens is with the Mossad, they after they retire, nobody retires actually. What they do is they go out to the world and create money opportunities for themselves. A local example might be this. And it's all works together. So the State Department gives money to small African countries for, I don't know, food. We'll just say food to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes that money turns into gun deals.
Mm-hmm.
That those gun deals are run through people like the Mossad. And then, for example, if it was somebody in the United States, they might start making, they might send that ammo from the United States to Canada where they can produce knockoff weapons. They would send that to this African country and that money would come back here. Another example, infrastructure projects. That money comes here and then it gets washed. It's usually washed through real estate or some other business.
Do you have proof of some of these things? You have the evidence. You feel comfortable saying this is happening because you know.
I think most people who understand anything about this know that's how it's done.
Well, a lot of people think out there when they hear these comments, they want to title it as fake news or false news or, conspiracy theory information. So it's interesting. I know you personally, and I know you're an individual of honor, and I know you won't speak unless you believe it. And we definitely want to get into that. And the Pizzagate correlation with Epstein, I'd really like to get into that with you if we can get you in the studio at some point. Let me ask you another one.
I would love to, and it's your lucky day because the better half just walked in.
Oh, really? I mean, does she want to hop on and say hi?
Hi, how are you?
I am good, Christine. I just I gave an intro to Gordon in the beginning, and I said he was one of the most, famous attorneys in the 6th District. Well, actually, you are. I apologize. Sorry.
It's okay. There's room for everyone, actually.
Good.
We're a family of a big tent. We have a big tent.
Oh, I know. I've seen the estate. I know it's a big tent, believe me. So what are you guys up to for the holiday season? Anything big going on? Gordon, you cooking the turkey?
No, we're actually going to do tenderloin steam.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's going to be very weird. Everything's a little bit weird, and it's going to be small, just like Thanksgiving was. And,
Just make the best of it.
Yeah.
Right? These days, make the best of it.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine.
So what Kevin asked me, we were talking, he was going through a list of Pizzagate, or a list of conspiracy, and he mentioned Pizzagate.
Yeah.
And I said it's much more real than most people think. And, at first you weren't on board, but I've been talking about Epstein for years and years and years. And we just had another arrest in Canada where I forget his name right now, but
Peter Nygard.
Peter Nygard, who is a fashion billionaire, who was doing very much the same thing as Epstein. He was trafficking girls, and he finally got arrested.
Right. Pizzagate's not Epstein, though.
No, it's not. But
does it tie back, in your opinion, Christine? Do you think there's a correlation?
I'm sorry. Do I think there's a correlation?
Yeah, between Epstein, Pizzagate. This guy we just popped him up on this latest charge. Do you see a connection? I mean, it's all evolving, right? We have more information as Maxwell in this whole situation. Gordon was leading into Epstein's former past practice working for again, what was it called? Israel, whatever.
It was Mossad. He was
Mossad.
Mossad. Yeah, he was basically, so bottom line is, the point is that stuff is out there. You're asking if Pizzagate is real. Yeah. I can't say if Pizzagate is real or not, but the level of human trafficking far surpasses what anybody knows. And under the Trump administration, they made quite a few arrests.
Yep.
And if he did nothing else, that would have been enough for me.
I mean, it's really prevalent. There was another guy, I can't think of his name, but he is from England, and he was given awards by the Vatican. He was knighted by the Queen, and he was just a complete pedophile and a creep. And, you know, how these people get into the upper echelons of society is what we should be asking ourselves, because it's not as though you can get there and these people that are close to him don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't tell me that no one knew what he was about. He was, you know, I wish I could think of his name off the top of my head, but, you know, his victims had come forward. People accused him of all sorts of things, but yet, you know, he was still in those upper echelons of society. And it's crazy. You know, it's really scary.
And it's really relevant now, because if you think China hadn't, they've been here for decades doing what they do. We know, you know, Feinstein's driver for 20 years was a Chinese spy. I mean, what did he hear? We know what just happened with the congressman from California, how they picked him off as a city official.
Swalwell, right.
So what do you think they're doing? They're sending young, attractive females. They're filming and they're blackmailing on top of the basically offering money to move to advance.
Wasn't Feinstein's driver noted about for how many years? One of the drivers for Feinstein, the senator, was also looked at as a Chinese spy. Did you hear about that?
Well, he absolutely was. He absolutely was, and some of that stuff was tied directly to military goods that we were receiving from China. So they were, I mean, it gets kind of crazy when you break it down, and I don't want to break it down that granularly, but the point is that they use those types of things. You bring a guy like Hunter Biden over, you offer him a bunch of money, okay, but then you have ungodly amounts of video of him with, some people are alleging, underage Chinese girls.
Did you hear that Barr is not going to, not thinking that they're going to pursue charges, at least in the Biden situation? Did you hear anything about that? Do you guys have any comment? Barr says that, no special counsel.
Well, he's saying no special counsel. It's already being prosecuted. Keep in mind that Hunter Biden, two of his partners, are already in jail.
Correct. But what do you take? What do you take of Barr saying that on his exit?
Remember this. I mean, there's a lot of pieces in this puzzle. You know, Bill Barr's father was Jeffrey Epstein's first employer. I mean, did you know that?
So I don't, you know what? I need to get you guys in here. I think that's what we're going to have to do. I don't want to cut you off, but I have to stay on a time frame. Would you both be willing to come in if we set up a show? We'll have you in the studio here. And Christine, we have a nice restaurant down here called Pie Hops. I'd invite you a little early so we can dine, and then we'll bring Gordon in afterwards so we can just catch up. If you guys are willing to do that.
We are absolutely willing to do that, but I don't want to cut it off that quickly without saying
what please.
We just went through makes me sound like a complete lunatic.
No, go ahead. Wrap it up.
But the point is, all of this is systemic. What we talk about regularly is all very, very documentable, and we oftentimes go directly toward congressional hearings. And the point is, we're not told the truth. So what is the truth? We know the CIA has been running the media, and the media is creating politicians, and it's a big circle of life. And who gets rich? I'll tell you who gets rich. The CARES Act transferred more wealth to the billionaire class than any money transfer in history, and that's what we really have to be looking for. Let's
drill it down. I want to make a date. Let's pick it offline. We'll communicate, guys. I want you to have a great Christmas. Enjoy your time. I'm going to get one of those rotisserie roasters from Walmart. That's what I'm having on Christmas. So you enjoy your what did you say, sirloins or what?
We'll bring you some tenderloins.
Tenderloins. Oh, that's beautiful. I know. I want you guys to have a great Christmas. Thank you. I'll talk to you this week, Gordon. Thanks for calling in, Christine. Take care of that guy. Would you go rub his feet or something? He's been walking all day, I've heard.
He's good. Don't worry.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
You ain't touching those toes. We all know. I'll talk to you guys. Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
All right, getting back to the News Rocky Show, guys. We're trying to stay on track here. I'm getting into that great conversation with those folks that are going to be Gordon and Christina. They have actually had their own show talking a lot about conspiracy issues, the topics we just covered with Gordon. Certainly very interesting information. And I'm glad that he was able to say, look, I don't want to end on this because I don't want your viewers and your listeners to think I'm like off the rails. Gordon's not off the rails. Gordon's going to bring information to the table. And a lot of this has to do with some of the fake news. Think about it, guys. Some of the things that Gordon just spoke about. Pizzagate. Yeah, he's got proof. He's got information. There is information out there, but the corporate media in this country is driven back on this issue so much, right on back to Hillary Clinton. What was the connection to her? He's going to lay it down for us. We're going to figure it out. We're going to actually tie it together, and we're going to actually get him on the show and his wife, hopefully right after the holiday season, right here on the News Rocky Show, coming to you live Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. At the Pie Hop Studio in downtown Norwich, 80 Broadway. So I think we're probably going to get into some of these topics as the time has been flying by when we're having fun. I know we did start a little bit late, so we're going to be probably a few minutes behind here, but let's get into the issues of fake news and the mental health sort of connection. And think about this. When you talk about mental health, folks, is fake news, and this article, although it's not a brand new article, it's more of a more recent article. In the subject matter is more important to me because I've been talking to a lot of people when I'm outside of the studio here, communicating with folks, and the folks I talked to up at that gathering that we talked about earlier, the COVID, protest that was organized by Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh, and we went and covered that as a live remote. A lot of the folks in that setting were really talking about the mental health effects of COVID and how much fake news and the information that's driven down to you. Now, think about it, folks. When you talk about fake news, if the government tells you you have to be, let's ask this. Let's just throw it out here for this. Why are restaurants and bars being told to close? What's the reason behind it? I want to know. Why is it some magic number at 10:01 p.m. every night? Somehow COVID comes out and everyone can be affected from it. It doesn't, by the way, 9:30 p.m., it's fine. 8:30 a.m., it's good between those hours. You're good to go. But at 10 p.m. at night, we have to shut restaurants down. We have to secure the facilities, lock them down, or a $10,000 fine if you're open. Why? Why is media pushing that agenda? Why aren't they asking the question, what's the difference? What's the difference in the hours? What is the difference in the fact that in fake news and media have driven people into a position of mental depression? Alcoholism's up, guys. You can see the rates they're skyrocketing, and suicide's a very serious issue and topic, one that you're going to hear me talk about here. I want to share with you something that's serious to me. I worked in the Department of Corrections for 21 years. I started in 1992 when I was 21 years old, retired at 42 in 2012. In that time frame that I worked from 1992 until even today, I've known 43 people personally who have either committed suicide and or overdosed from drugs. And I kind of put them into both categories, the same one, because it's kind of that conscious effort, even without control, to put yourself into that situation. But think about those numbers of mental health. That's just one example of an industry that has battles with that. The people who have been locked down in this country, the fact that media has helped drive a narrative of division between this entire country. When you look at how fake news and the mental health effects of, let's say, this past summer after the George Floyd incidents that took place, we had the media on one side saying these are peaceful protests when we were actually seeing violence erupting across this country. And you know the shame of that is it was taking away from the actual conversation that is necessary to have. But fake news and the media's driving of this mental health is a real problem in this country. How are we going to respond? How are we going to take care of it? Are you gonna wake up tomorrow and just feel like the sun's coming out? I kind of feel like this is going to be a bigger issue than most can handle. I want to skip on. We're going to cover a few topics, and then we're going to come into the ring in the second round knockout. Conspiracy theory lawyer Sidney Powell spotted at the White House. Now, she was spotted there. I mean, imagine this. Imagine the president of the United States, his election team's attorney, was actually seen at the White House. This is a big deal. Why is it a big deal? You know why it's a big deal? because the media is bored, because they realize their money man, the mouth of the South, Donald Trump, the guy who can stir the pot better than any, he's on his way out. You got the slick, old Uncle Joe coming in, mumbling, bumbling, stumbling Uncle Joe's coming in to work, and it's going to get back to normal in the White House. The White House is going to get back to the same way it's always been with the political insiders, right back to George W. and back even further. These Republicans, Democrats, all they do is know how to operate in Washington, D.C. But Sidney Powell, she's out there. And the interesting thing is this Trump tweeted encouragement for the Republicans in considering challengers in electoral college results. He still is fighting the fight. I don't know if we really have seen the end of it. I think some of the play here, when I asked Gordon about his opinion of Barr, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Barr has now the attorney general stepping down, guys, is a big deal, right? Why is he stepping down now? What is the reason why he can't now? Many scholars, many folks who have been covering the political landscape here in this country for a long time have commented that this is just another move typically done by those who serve in these capacity and helps the transition. I don't think this is the case here. I think this is a way, and there's a lot of folks that are out there thinking that this Sidney Powell, who's manipulating, as claimed by people calling the conspiracy theory on her, she's manipulating the system by making these claims about all these inappropriate voting machines, these counts, these turnouts, the mail-in ballots, and considering what Donald Trump continues to do. I think there's more to this. And what do you guys think about her presence? It seems like she came on the scene late in the 11th hour for the president, but Sidney Powell plays a really big pivotal role in this going forward. A power broker in Washington, D.C. behind the scenes, Sidney Powell, a conspiracy theory seen at Washington, D.C. White House. Trump talk of martial law. Guys, Trump's talking about martial law, huh? This is another great one from the Business Insider. This is a great little tidbit here, guys. It's the how they present this is if Donald Trump himself was talking about, martial law. And I'm sure the comments have come up because the questions have been asked by the corporate media people constantly about, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave if you lose? Are you going to do this? Guys, remember too, this is the funny part. We all fell for this shit. If you go back all the way into when Donald Trump was running in 2016, this was planned then. This is a prime example. Trump ordering martial law. This is an idea that's alarmed many, including Elizabeth Newman, a former official in the Trump era Department of Homeland Security. Newman argued that the right-wing extremists could interrupt such talks as a signal from the Trump to an act at violence. Now, what this is saying is this former cabinet member here in the Homeland Security is recommending that, or at least giving an opinion that this is not a good time for Trump to be encouraging this kind of dissension in this country. These are just the same old claims that we see each and every day. Elizabeth Newman, a former assistant secretary of the DHS under Trump, addressed this on a CNN report. Whoa, it's on CNN, right? So obviously anything that goes on CNN typically is just going to be anti-Trump anyways. So I really don't play a lot into this. You know what? If people are going to act up, they're going to act up anyways, and they're going to be inspired to do that because what they believe is this country is falling apart. And speaking about a falling apart country, I got to tell you, one of my favorite, as far as I'm concerned, UN ambassadors Nikki Haley has recently said that on a Fox News interview, Nikki Haley on the impact of Georgia, she talks about that. There's a big races in Georgia, her being a former governor, big deal. But Americans need to wake up, she says, realize China wants to dominate the world. Now, this is the lady who was serving in the UN as our UN ambassador. This is an individual in a position who has her fingertip, and I think she has a huge future. I don't know about you guys out there, who want to vote on your favorite politicians or former political leaders. I think Nikki Haley speaks to me as someone who's definitely going to get back. Yes, she has an insider's understanding, but she's an outspoken individual who says and warns to the American people, China, you better wake up. China wants to dominate the world. And China said just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, in 2035, they'll outdo the military of America. They'll be able to outmuscle us. They'll be able to out-tech us, and they'll be able to outnumber us and take over the world if choosing. Listen, if you don't think for a moment this coronavirus, the China virus, came from China, the Wuhan lab that came right to this country from China, how did the China officials just look the other way? How did they allow this outbreak to take place? You don't think for a moment that they purposely look the other way? Read into this article about what Haley is saying, and I hope that you understand. I've been saying it too. We are going to be in a fight of our life in 2035. If this is the estimate, you know what? We need to get it together in 2022 and get out there and let China know there's no possibilities for them to be kicking us around or taking our lunch money from us in the future. So I'm going to go right into Barr. Barr says he has no plan to appoint anything with the election. And he also has no plan for a special counsel for Biden. This is interesting. Again, here we got the Attorney General Barr announces his resignation, right? And he resigns from office. This Hunter Biden ongoing case, it's still a case that's, as Gordon pointed out, still going on, but no special counsel going to be appointed to this. You wonder why, right? We got the chance to see the special counsel. Think about this, folks. Think about this for one moment. The Russian collusion issue that we went through with all this nonsense from 2016, even before President Donald Trump, the 45th president, was even sworn into office, we were able to watch this whole play take place, this whole theatrical moment where these hearings took place. Why is there going to be no hearings for the possible corruption, not from the president-elect in his position in the future, but his position as a vice president? During his time serving as vice president, his son was connected to foreign governments and foreign business deals that had favor because of his father's position. There is proof of that. That is not fake. And those people out there that want to say it is, I love for you to tell me how it's not. We all know this is true, but yet again, remember what we said in the beginning of the show. You folks out there that stay in your lane, and you just had to make the best choice because you couldn't go with that one because you had to stay with that one. You know what you did? You chose Joe Biden, your guy. Good old Joe. Joe doesn't make it 6 months, guys. Hunter Biden is going to be incarcerated before his father leaves office. You want to make a bet on that? Or he'll at least get charged, and his father will then pardon him and then leave office. There's the conspiracy theory for 2021. You heard it right here from the News Rocky Show. I got to tell you that we kind of blasted through a lot of these articles today, and some of these things we're drawing down on with Barr leaving and with this current information about his recommendations. But you got to remember, there's a whole new administration coming in. There's a whole new objective coming in. There's going to be people in positions of power in this cabinet that are going to make decisions for possibly the attorney general, whoever sits for. I know there's been names out there, but think about it. Those people in those positions have the total control under Biden. And will they go after somebody like his son if they're the ones that get this job from him? Pretty interesting. Kind of the same interesting, like most of the folks thought once this Texas lawsuit was filed, right? We heard about the Texas lawsuit, and certainly the governor of Texas filing this lawsuit, and all these lawsuits being thrown out in these different states when Texas filed. But the conspiracy theory was, think about it. Well, it's going to get to the Supreme Court, and because President Donald Trump appointed 2 Supreme Court and all these judges across the country, guess what? The Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to side with it. But you know what I hear from the other side? Crickets. The same scumbag piece of crap, Twiggy and Baby Arms, who criticized both these these people that were put up for Supreme Court. Do you remember what they did to Kavanaugh? Do you remember what they tore him through? Do you remember how they criticized him and drove him and in front of his own daughter said he was basically a rapist? Do you remember that, guys? The same scumbags that said those comments then, you know what? Oh, yeah, well, they're doing the right thing because now they're complimentary, but they're not saying they're sorry. Oh, they said it would never happen. In fact, they told you if you vote the American people, you want these people to be put in the Supreme Court, we're going to lose control. Guess what? You just got embarrassed again. Twiggy and Baby Arms, you just got embarrassed again. And the rest of you people, the senators and congressmen and men and women out there who want to sit here and criticize. And by the way, this is Republicans and Democrats both. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. Bottom line is, stick in your lane. If you want to be that way then, don't come out now. Now to come out now after you, how do you play that game? See, this is why I didn't make it in politics. Because if you piss me off, I'm going to want to fight. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to make a deal with you in the back door. I don't want to go in the back room and cut some deal that's going to, commiserate some kind of relationship. So we go back on the floor or the playhouse and we pretend like we don't like each other. If I get to a position of power ever again, I promise this, the News Rocky might run. Who knows? You never know. I might run for Congress, Senate, governor. I don't know what I'm going to run for. Dog catcher, mayor of Norwich. I don't know what I'm running for. But if I ever run again, I can promise you this. I will never play politics. I never did play politics. People know my history. You know what I did. I didn't sit there. I walked in the rooms with 600, 700, 800 people, 1,000 people at a time, understanding probably 99% of them didn't like me because I was doing something that I thought was right and I stayed committed, just like President Trump is doing. But yet you folks like Twiggy and Baby Arms, you know what you guys do? Each and every day you get in front of the American people. More importantly, you get in front of Connecticut's people and you make these comments like you're so holier than thou. You know what you are? You're a typical politician full with fat air and only worried about a fat pocket because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Each and every one of you politicians that go to D.C., if you go there and you're broke and you leave with millions of dollars, you know what you are? A scumbag. A straight up scumbag because you took advantage of the people. Our founding fathers, when they founded this country, you know what they founded it on? The fact that this was going to be for the people, by the people. They founded it on the fact that the farmer and the military, the shop owner, the people who worked in factories, they were going to step up and they were going to stand up. You heard what I said? Step up and stand up. Anyone catching what I'm saying? Step up and stand up and get involved. Stop sitting on your asses and complaining. Stop sitting there and complaining about how a vote turned out. Stop complaining about your taxes going up. Stop complaining about how a governor is ruling because you know what? You put him there. And if you didn't vote for that governor or that president or that senator, you know what? Work harder. Stop sitting on the sidelines criticizing because you know what? I'll be honest with you. As a former politician who worked on getting people to vote for me, the biggest challenge I had was sitting there looking people in the face that I sometimes didn't agree with and try to get them to vote for me. And quite honestly, I sit before you now and I apologize. I should have never did it. I should have never shook a hand with anybody who even had a different opinion just so I could get a vote for them. And you're hearing this from a guy, by the way, that got voted in by one vote the first time, turned to two and then recanvassed. And then I got cross-endorsed by both parties in that town to be the municipal leader. And then the next time I got voted into state rep with some of the highest numbers. Democrats voted for me. Republicans voted for me. They didn't vote for my party politics. They voted for me. But you know what we see in this country, guys? There's such a division, such a divide in this country. The way we play the political game each and every day, we hear what side of the argument you're on. It doesn't matter what you say. Guys, if Donald Trump woke up tomorrow and shit a golden goose egg that solved the world debt and he had a cure to COVID and he had everyone, the birds were tweeting and the sun was out, you know what you'd say? Those people on the left side would say, still not good enough. Still not good enough. Those people on the right side will say, well, okay, but I don't want to get too close to him because he's dangerous. He's going to hurt me. You know what? This is why people are attracted to Donald Trump. This is why this will be probably the biggest presidency in the history of this country. An unelected professional businessman runs for office in 2016 and gets elected to the highest office in the land and the most powerful position in the world. And he did it his way. Frank Sinatra. We should cue it up and play it someday because that's what he did. He did it his way. And the reason that individuals right now are so against what Donald Trump did is because the simple fact, he is a person who has said what he would do and he's done it. He's got Nobel Peace Prizes. He's got some of the best economic deals that ever happened. He brought the industries back to this country. He fought against China. And wonder about this, guys. So let's fake news this all day long you want. Fake news tells you how this whole thing happened, COVID happened, and the president failed, and the president didn't do this, and the president do that. You know what the president did do? He called China out. And when he called them out, they reacted. They knew this is the biggest threat. They couldn't have another 4 years of Donald Trump because then there was no doubt your 2035 China, you wouldn't even have been close to it. You know, these next 4 years are pivotal. They are critical, and they are important for us as American people. And I challenge you, get off your bench. Get off the seat you're on. Get off your asses and go get involved. Don't be on the sideline saying, you know what, I don't want to do this and I'm tired of that. It is so important for you to get involved now. Now, let's say in the real world, Joe Biden is going to be sworn into office. There's nothing that the Trump administration, bar him calling some kind of, this nuclear option, which I don't think he's going to do either. And I don't quite honestly recommend he does. We need to beat them at their own game. And I mean them, meaning everybody involved in Washington politics. We shouldn't be looking at this like, how can we outmaneuver? And this is not a chess game. This is a game of life, real life. Real people need solutions. And this is why I'm telling you, stop complaining and get involved. Don't sit on the sidelines and think, hey, you know what? I got all the answers. I watch Fox News and it told me this. Tucker said this. I love Tucker, right? Tucker's a guy who says it like it is, and I love how he drills down. I love Ben Shapiro, right? I love all these people. You know what? I can even find some enjoyment in many of the newscasters and the reporters and the writers on many of the liberal pages who are corporate greed motivated. But yet I find some solace in the fact that I think energy is there to try to get towards an end. The end of this boat, this ride for Donald Trump comes this year. And when it does, the interesting part about it's going to be, what is the fallout going to be? What happens in Washington, D.C.? Do we see the same old thing? I'll tell you what it comes down to, guys. The bottom line at the end of the day, and we're wrapping it up here. We've got about 2 minutes before we wrap. The bottom line at the end of the day is when Trump leaves office, is he leaving office? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think so. I think campaign 2024 starts the day. In fact, he just announced he's going to be going down to Georgia on the day of the inauguration, and they're going to have a huge rally down there for those senators who are running. Those are the two important positions for people of conservative and American lovers. If you love the American way, if you love the freedoms of what we have that have been provided under this president, you better do what you can to encourage everyone. If grandma lives in Georgia, call her up and convince her. If mama's down there, if your ex-wife is down there, call them up and encourage them. Vote for those senators for these very key positions. And guys, I'm coming to you live from the Pi Hop studio. This is News Rocky. I think I drank a Red Bull on the way in because I'm a little fired up today. A great call with Gordon. We're going to get Gordon and his wife in. Christine will be talking about some of those conspiracy theories that I said, but he has the ability to articulate. They're not conspiracy theories. There's a lot of fact out there. Pizzagate, Epstein, the connection of Clinton. There's a lot of things out there. The Obama administration, he's going to tie it all in for us on a future show. So I want you to pay attention. Guys, I appreciate you each and every day tuning in. Please do me one favor. When you get done watching the show, share this. Share it in groups. Share it with friends. Share it with people. Communicate to us. Send us messages. We'll get back to you. And if it's a good subject, we'll have you come on as a caller or on the show. We'll definitely respond back to you every day. This is News Rocky coming to you live Monday through Friday, 4 to 5, right here from the Pi Hop studio, right above the Pi Hops restaurant at 80 Broadway in downtown Norwich. Guys, thank you and God bless. Listen, get out there, get up and fight for America. Let's go.